All right, today I'm gonna teach you how to design a custom range hood. We're gonna start by choosing the design style or your preferred style of hood. That's the most important thing, right? This is the focal point of your kitchen, so you wanna make sure that what you're looking at is something that you love and will cherish for years to come. So let's take a look at this one. We'll kind of talk about some of the details of what we're looking at here. This is actually a matte lacquer cabinet designed to match the cabinets of the island here. There's a little polished stainless chrome trim at the bottom here. And then the cabinetry supplier made this and we inserted the actual guts of the hood into this. So this would probably be more contemporary, maybe transitional as far as design style. So that's probably one of the most important things you gotta determine. Do you want a traditional hood? Do you want a transitional hood? Do you want a contemporary modern hood? We can do all of those different things and different finishes, different colors. So we'll look at some other hoods and kind of show you the capabilities that we can do. All right, so this hood is freaking massive and awesome, right? And this is a little different. This is actually a plastered hood, and you'll see it's been framed out by the contractor, and then we had plaster over the face of it here. It's a very common style. They kept it pretty minimal with the design details, so I'd call this about a transitional hood. It's in a traditional kitchen, but it is a pretty simple hood. But it's beautiful, it's huge. You know, we're lucky we have really tall ceilings in here, so we could go really high with the size of this hood, and it gives it this grandeur feeling in this kitchen. And again, this part is not something that we would do in-house. This is something your contractor would do. I will drop a link in the video of a easy install frame kit that you can design on your own. I'll teach you how to do that in another video. But this is essentially framed out wood, drywalled, and then plastered over. And then we have a Thermador hood insert underneath here that you don't see, it's hidden. So yeah, this is a grand hood. Hey, we're gonna get right back to that video, but I wanted to take a second to remind you all that everything you see in all of my videos is something that I sell, and I'd love to help you with your next project. We can ship across the States and globally in some cases. So if you're interested, we'll put a link above here, or drop us a line, and we'd love to help you out on your next project. All right, let's get back to the video. Nick was saying here, he didn't even notice this hood, and that's exactly the point. So the design did accomplish that. This is a flush ceiling mounted hood. These are designed to go a lot higher than your traditional hoods so that you can get the view of whatever you want out of your way, right? You don't have this hood in your ocean view or blocking the view to your family room or your dining room where you might, converse with your family and friends. So we can put this one higher. When you go higher, we need to go wider too. We need to expand the grease capture area. So you'll notice that this is wider. This is a 63-inch hood over a 48-inch range. And you might be thinking like, well, how the heck do you control that thing? I'm about 6 feet tall and I can barely reach the top of it. No worries, there is a remote that you can use. You can magnetically stick this on any metal section of your kitchen, put it in your drawer, and this controls the lights, the hood, the timer, all that fun stuff. And then you will have to, from time to time, maybe get up on a step ladder. There's some grease filters you can pull out of there, put them in your dishwasher, good to go. And that's a hood by Zephyr. That's their Luxe ceiling mounted hood. Comes in stainless steel and a really nice white color as well. Now we're gonna look at a completely hidden hood that has basically a cabinet surround over it. And the designer had fun with this. We kind of elevated the hood. We still put the crown on it so it matches the adjacent cabinetry. So it really blends in seamlessly with the kitchen and disappears. And again, we put in a hood liner. This one is by SKS. So you don't see it till you get underneath and you have all your lighting and hood controls underneath the hood here. But this is essentially your cabinet maker will put this over the front of your hood, completely hide your hood and it goes away. This is more of a transitional look. I couldn't call that maybe a more traditional shaker. but probably more transitional overall for this design style. And now we're gonna look at a beautiful finished metal Blue Star custom hood. This hood has a unique kind of curvature in the front here with some antiqued brass banding. So all these parts are called banding. These little dots here are called rivets, and we can do all kinds of different rivets. And then another terminology you're all gonna need to know is duct cover. What is a duct cover? This is the section that does what it says. It literally covers the circular ducting, and that's this part up here. That's about a probably 18-inch duct cover. Those are important because this is what's gonna determine the mounting height of your hood. This is what is going to determine the scale of your hood. So getting that right is extremely important. And we're gonna go over how to do that as well. But this hood is something that we do 100% in-house. We can customize the color, the metal, the rivets. We can do all kinds of different things with this. This is probably gonna be more of a traditional style hood in my opinion, with the more elaborate rivets and the banding, and will look good in a traditional type kitchen. Now we are in the beautiful La Cornue kitchen, and we're gonna talk about this Chateau hood. This is one of my personal favorite design styles. This has like a trapezoidal type of shape, and this section at the bottom is called the lip. So when you're designing your hood, there's different lip treatments that you can do, different things you can do. You can raise the lip, you can make it flush with the body of the hood, you can put banding on it, you can put rivets on it, you can polish it like you see here. This is gonna be a traditional or transitional style hood, very popular shape, and again, one of my personal favorites. And then if you look up, this one has a real short duct cover at the top. That's only about a 3-4 inch duct cover. And we're gonna talk more about that as we go. But this is beautiful hood from La Cornue. All right, now I'm gonna show you something by AGA, the English company. This is a custom hood that we put over the AGA range. This has a more antiqued brass finish on it, and you're gonna see this curvature coming down. This definitely gives it a more traditional feel. Minimal banding, so you have 2 brass bands going up. And this particular one is seamless, so there's no duct cover over the top. But again, really popular style. We do a lot in this type of a shape. And yeah, just a really beautiful hood by AGA. This thing is kind of insane. This is a hood that actually nobody else has ever seen or done before because we're the first. Modern Aire actually designed this and was kind enough to send this to us for our showroom display. It's pretty wild. It's got this really kind of bulbous curve coming out of the front canopy part. And then it's got some unique angles on the side here. And we covered these angles with these smoked copper bands. And then you can see we continued that all the way up with the duct cover as well. So it's just a really good example of some unusual custom type shapes that we can do. And this particularly one of my favorite custom hood manufacturers is Modern Aire. They're made right here in California. This is smoked copper, and then this is like a smoked black stainless that they did with it. Very unusual finishes. You don't see very often. They made it really hard on me to try and find a range that matched that, but I don't know. Let me know what you think. I think we did a pretty good job with Blue Star. All right, so this is an absolutely stunning hood by Monogram. They don't do a lot of custom hood options. Actually, they don't even do custom hoods. This is just one of their hoods that they offer. It's absolutely beautiful. It's got these really sharp angles, just really clean lines, and it's in a brushed brass finish. The one thing about this particular kitchen as we're standing here, we really did a taller height off of the range. So it's really high. We're gonna go over the proper mounting height for your hoods and proper height for taller people, shorter people. You know, you wanna be able to reach the controls, but you also don't wanna bang your head on the corner of these hoods. So we'll talk about that next, but this is an absolutely beautiful example of a transitional or contemporary, I'd say, design style hood from Monogram. Now we got 3 in a row here. We're gonna show off the Officine Gullo. These guys have stunning hoods and quite a few different options. They don't allow you to 100% customize the shape. They do have some preset shapes that you have to select from, but some pretty incredible color and hardware options This particular one is a green with a 24 karat gold trim. And this is for sure gonna be more in the traditional realm of hood design styles. Beautiful hood from Officine Gullo. This center one here is a straight up rectangular box shape. Definitely a more contemporary design style, more minimal. This is done by Hood, and this is a brushed brass that does have a lacquer finish on it, so it won't show the fingerprints. But Hood, for sure, is one of the best custom hood manufacturers out there. They're made in Texas and been in business since basically the 30s, so one of the original range hood manufacturers in the US, and probably one of the best as far as performance of filtering grease and having a very quiet sound rating. So that's Hood. Now we're gonna go over another modern Aire. This is gonna be a polished stainless steel hood with a black painted canopy. And this one is a 36-inch wide. You can see one thing that I like about modern Aire, they do these really nice knurled knobs for the light switch and the fan switch. And just their seams, their welding, they are the best in the industry, in my opinion. They just pay attention to those corners and those details that, you know, really matter when you're talking about the focal point of your kitchen. So another really beautiful example by modern Aire. This is one of my personal favorite hoods, and I bet you don't even know where it is, right? It's hidden in this cabinet right here. And this one's very special because when designing a more contemporary kitchen, most people want to see these clean lines like this, right? This goes all the way across here. You really don't even know if there's anything in here. And this is such a shallow upper cabinet though, that if you stuck a hood insert in here, you're really not gonna do anything to capture grease because it's way too shallow. The grease, the steam is all gonna be coming out in front of the ventilation hood and getting all over the front of the cabinet. So this would be a no-no if there was just a hood insert in here that was like 10, 11 inches. Instead, if you want this look, if you wanna achieve this, go with Hood's special TLH liner. This is extremely functional and beautiful. This pulls out when you wanna use it. It expands the canopy, makes it deeper, much more functional. It'll capture all the grease and mess that you're gonna make. And then when you're done, you just push it shut and it disappears. Excellent hood for contemporary, modern, minimal design styles by Hood. Now we are in our ADU kitchen. We're actually still in the process of finishing this out, so you'll notice don't even have our countertops in yet. But I wanted to show you another type of hood. This is probably one of the things I recommend the least, but it does serve a purpose sometimes. So this is what we call an OTR, or over the range microwave. This is gonna be a microwave and hood all in one. Now in ADUs, in small spaces and limited spaces, it's just so practical to have it all in here like this. The only thing is it doesn't really capture grease as well as a traditional hood will. And of course, this is gonna be super loud. So those are the drawbacks, but this is a hood that's in many, many people's homes. And I wanted to call it out because we're talking about hoods today. All right, the last type of hood is going to be a downdraft type of hood. This is a hood that essentially will either be a linear piece here that will raise up and down to create a draft that will pull the smoke down and through either your subfloor or through your cabinets and out. There's also another style that's a circular type of downdraft that's come out from Aire and Elica, Fisher Paykel, and that is a non-raising and lowering downdraft system. These are functional if you really don't have the space or the room or the budget or the desire to have a hood above your cooktop. However, downdrafts are not as efficient at capturing grease and filtering it out as a traditional overhead vent will be. So my first recommendation is always to try and get an overhead vent first. If you can't do that, you need to get rid of that, you know, to clear your view or anything out of the way. A downdraft is a good option instead. All right, now we need to talk about one of the most important parts of designing your custom range hood. This is the ceiling height, and we're talking floor to ceiling height, right? So we want to know you got 9 feet, you got 10 feet, you got 8 feet. This will determine the scale and the size of your hood. So obviously, if you like this type of hood style, where it's really tall and big and expansive, this would not look the same if this was only an 8-foot ceiling. It'd look like a short, squatty, you know, something from outer space. I don't know. It wouldn't look right. So ceiling height is extremely, extremely important. There's a really easy calculation that I'm going to teach you right now that you can do to kind of help, you know, figure out what the height of your hood needs to be. And it's this: you're going to take your ceiling height, you know, and then you're going to factor your countertop height here. So the standard in industry is 36 inches for the countertop height. So you're going to take your ceiling height minus 36 inches for your countertop height. Now I'm about 6 feet tall, and I like to design the hoods to be at least 36 inches off the cooktop surface or off the countertop. So if we're doing this calculation, 3 feet or 36 inches off the ground, another 3 feet or 36 inches off the ground, that's 72 inches. So your ceiling height minus 72 inches is going to be what I would consider the optimal height for a big custom range hood. Now, there are instances where, you know, your ceiling might not be tall enough, or the style or shape of your hood, you know, it needs to be shorter, and that's okay. This hood, for example, isn't quite 36 inches. This one is about 31.5 inches off the countertop surface. And being 6 foot, this is still okay for me. You know, I could hit my head on this if I'm not paying attention, but you know, that's really not gonna happen very often. You still can access most of this. So this is an acceptable height for most people, but I do prefer 36 inches off the countertop surface for optimal headroom. All right, and finally, one thing I want to mention is you do have options when it comes to your motor or your blower on your vents. So you can do 3 major types. One is an internal blower. This is literally mounted inside the hood here, and that will be one of the most common styles of blowers that you'll see. 2, you can do what's called an inline blower. An inline blower is designed to go literally in line with your ducting. So in this instance, you would have ducting here, then the blower motor would be somewhere around here, and then you'd have discharge of duct to go outside. So those can go in attic spaces, they can go in soffits, they can go into cabinetry. It just depends on your ducting situation and your hood situation. And then finally, the last style of blower would be a remote or external blower. These go outside of your home. Now, there are some pros and cons to this. When you put this type of blower on the exterior of your home, it's visible, and it's not small. It's usually between 20 to 24 inches by 24 inches, either rectangle or square, and it's visible. So if you're gonna put this on the front of your house, you know, if your hood happens to be on a wall that is frontal, I don't know if that's a good idea. I'd prefer it up on the roof, up out of sight, on the side of the house. And in a lot of cases, you can paint this and try and help make it go away and disappear. But the benefit of external blowers is you don't have that motor noise in your kitchen. So I will say it minimally reduces the noise that you'll experience in your kitchen. Realistically, the bulk of the noise will come from the air moving through your filters. Whether you have a Baffle filter or a mesh filter like you see here, that air rapidly moving through the filter is what causes the high noises that you'll experience on hoods. So yeah, those are the 3 types: internal, inline, and external or remote blower. This is a huge, huge, huge thing to take into account if you are not building from scratch, or if you're remodeling and you don't have the ability to determine your own duct diameter. If you're trying to retrofit or replace, you really need to figure out what your duct diameter is, because this will determine how powerful of a blower that you can have. For example, this looks like it's probably an 8-inch round blower. That is a more standard size, and maybe a 36-inch hood would have that. When you get into a 48-inch range or a 60-inch range, the duct diameter size is gonna start getting up to 10 inches round, 12 inches round, and sometimes you need to transition 2 ducts into 1. So it's important because if you have, let's say, an 8-inch diameter duct at home right now, you're not gonna remodel your house and change your duct diameter. You know, you wanna buy a new hood that's more powerful, you cannot reduce from 10-inch or 12-inch down to 8-inch. It's against code, and even beyond that, it just won't work. The way that air flows is that reduction in the diameter of the duct will act as basically a wall, and your hood will not duct the air outside. So pay attention to the diameter of your ducting. It's extremely important. All right, now we're gonna talk about the different filter types that you're gonna see in vent hoods. So we've got a few laid out here. This type of filter is a steel mesh filter. This is another type of mesh filter. And these are removable inside your hood. You know, you just flip this little switch. These are dishwasher safe. So you're gonna wanna wash these out. They're gonna get really greasy. So pop them in your dishwasher and clean them every 3 months or so. It really depends on how often you cook. The probably most popular pro style filter is this guy right here. This is called a Baffle filter. And the way that this works is, I'm gonna hold this up. So see how you can't see through that? It's solid, looks like it's solid. Well, these baffles are just offset on each side. So essentially what you have is this type of a thing going on. This is the baffles in an elevation view. So the air to be sucked up has to do this. It has to come up, come down, and back around the baffle to go out. When that air goes up and turns like that, the heavy grease cannot make that turn. It's too heavy. So it stays in the baffle filter, and your grease will collect right here in the baffle filter. This is the most common style, and you'll see this on a lot of professional type hoods. The other style that you're gonna witness is basically a no baffle, no filter hood that's Venta hood. They have a completely open canopy, and they do a totally different type of filter. All right, so this is the Venta hood style. You'll notice no filters going across this completely open canopy, and I just pulled off the grease collection tray. So the grease will accumulate in here, and this is something you just scrub out with some soapy water. The way that works is with this centrifuge blower. Super easy to pull out. This is this Venta hood centrifuge blower setup here, right? So it's a circular blower that basically will pull air in. It will do this rotation, and then the air will go out through that damper right there. When this rotation is made, the heavier grease will stick here and accumulate here because it can't make that turn, only the air can. And that grease will accumulate in here, and then it will drop out of that little hole into the grease tray. And then here is a good look of the actual centrifuge blower. That's the quietest in the industry. I'll turn that on for you, you can see it. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video on how to design a custom range hood. I know there's a lot of information in there, but this is one of the focal points of the kitchen, so you wanna make sure that it's perfect and you can have a real centerpiece to your kitchen in the end. So if you found this valuable, you know, give us a like and subscribe to our channel. And of course, if you'd like help designing your hood, whether it's custom or standard, drop us a contact here and we'd love to help you out with that.